Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Alexis Ware. In this week's news, Legacy Center can have an outdoor patio until fall. Sewer rates are increasing and Village moving to temporarily ban pot shops.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. The Township Board voted 4-2 to allow Legacy 925 to have a patio on the west side of the building until September 30th. Customers can eat and drink on the patio until 11 p.m. and the patio will be open until midnight, 7 days a week. The temporary permit imposes that there be no music or television in the patio area. Christian Mills, owner of the Legacy Center, originally requested to include the use of TV and music on the patio. And he said other downtown businesses had either TVs or music in the outdoor seating areas. However, nearby residents from Stony Lake Village condos were at the meeting to oppose potential excess noise.
Oxford Village Council is moving forward with an ordinance to ban all marijuana businesses. At the last meeting, the council voted 4-1 to set a first reading and public hearing regarding the ban at their next meeting on July 9th. The proposed ban was recommended by the Planning Commission on June 4th. The state is expected to begin accepting applications for marijuana businesses on September 1st. The village needs to have an ordinance in place by September 1st, or the state automatically allows all types of businesses without restrictions. Village Attorney Bob Davis expressed concern that the village had yet to have any written record of progress on the issue. Davis said the public could challenge the ban on businesses with a freedom of information request because the village has made no progress on the issue so far.
Sewer fees in Oxford Township will soon be increasing. The Township Board voted 6-0 to raise the sewer connection fee to $5,000 for REU, residential equivalent unit, from $3,500 REU. The increase is to help pay for the addition of a 7,400-foot sanitary sewer line on M24 from Gateway Drive to Oakdale Road. And the last fee, by the way, was increased sometime in 2014 when it went from $2,500 to $3,500 REU.
The village is adding 2 more stop signs to Pontiac Street. 2 will be on East Street to regulate eastbound and westbound traffic. 2 signs on Pontiac Street will regulate north and southbound traffic. The signs were based on resident requests. Police Chief Sowold said East Street residents have been complaining for years about speeders. East Street is also a major cut-through that is used to avoid the downtown stoplight. As for the Pontiac and Denson intersection, there are 2 elementary schools nearby and heavy cut-through traffic in the area as well.
Oxford Village President Joe Frost wants to allow residents to have chicken coops and, of course, chickens. Currently, the village ordinances do not prohibit chickens, but the zoning ordinance does. Frost said he found it ironic that the state law will permit up to 12 marijuana plants, but the village will not allow chickens. Under the draft ordinance Frost submitted, residents could have no more than 4 hens and no roosters. Maureen Helmuth was concerned about rats, which can be attracted to unsecured food. Councilwoman Kate Logan said a pilot program could be enacted for the year or 2 coming up, and Village Attorney Bob Davis said the new ordinance would have to be balanced with Michigan's Right to Farm Act, which allows considerable latitude in regards to backyard chickens. Davis warned that if a village ordinance conflicted with the Michigan's Farm Act, the Farm Act typically wins in court.
Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel's Corporate Oversight Division is considering a class action lawsuit against Oxford based on Odd Jobs disposal. Customers have filed complaints with the state against the company. Some have complained about services not being rendered, and others for a failure to receive refunds from the company when Odd Jobs were no longer serving their area. Additionally, customers were not told Odd Jobs was closing and were billed by the company anyway for future service. Orion resident Ed Zonchek said that issues with odd jobs began in November 2018 when garbage pickups were delayed or never happened. Many other customers throughout the Orion-Oxford area had communication issues with the company.
Well, that was rather interesting.
Oh yeah, when did they go out of business, do you know?
I think about 2 months ago.
Okay, I heard chitter chatter about it, but never really knew the full story on that.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate thing. It was owned privately by a family-owned
okay.
business and ran into some difficulties financially.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that was rather interesting. That would be the Tough Mudders.
Happened this past weekend, and you know, some people train all year for it, and others travel around with the actual Tough Mudder Corporation to do it multiple times a year. They have it in every state, I believe. So
Can you tell us something about the Mudders, what it's all about?
So really, it's just about teamwork. It's about, you know, helping others out, even if you don't know those other people. Cody and I, obviously, we were for OCTV. We were there representing OCTV in Oxford.
Yeah. Cody's
But
our sports person.
Cody is the school sports person. Yep, coming up next.
Right.
So we were there representing us, but you know, it was a two-person team, and a lot of these teams who come out have 5 and 6 people to, you know, get you through the obstacles. You need a lot of people on your team. But the great thing is, even if you don't, like Cody and I, those other teams help you. It's like it's a Tough Mudder effort, not a team effort, I guess you would say. So that's the number one
Okay,
thing.
so you have to be able to run, you have to be able to go underwater, you have to do all kinds of things, right?
Well, not really, because I can't swim, and
Okay.
I got in a few puddles of water, but nothing too bad. And they always tell you in the beginning, if you watch the beginning credits of, you know, the show that's coming out soon, he tells you if you can't swim, don't go underwater. I did not listen to that, but you know, they do tell you not to, and it is advised that you don't.
They said after you went down the third time, somebody fished you out.
Well, I was careful. You know, if it looked
Right.
like I couldn't stand in it, then I didn't go in it. If I had to go under, even though it wasn't deep, I didn't do that either, just so there was no real chance of me drowning.
Well, the good news is the fact that after you got all covered up with mud and everything, nobody ever knew who you were, right?
True. You know, I was a little disappointed because I usually don't roll around in mud, but that day was my chance, and I wanted to be more muddy than what I was. But you know, I guess it helped my car out a lot that I wasn't as muddy as I thought I was going to turn out. So.
Yeah, this is actually a national organization. They're all over the country. And I believe it's the third year that they've been here. in
Third year
Oxford.
for Oxford, yeah.
Yeah, I
and
thought so.
hopefully fourth in 2020. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been pretty successful in the past, you know, and so we look forward to having it happen again. You want to compete in the next one?
I do want to compete in the next one. You know, something that I learned from doing the first one is you don't really have to train for it. It is a lot of running. That's the hardest part by far, is running. But the obstacles are not mandatory. You don't have to go through all of them. They're completely optional. So just go out, have fun. If you're not the most athletic person like myself, you can still go and have fun. If you don't want to run, there are spectator passes, so you can go and support your loved ones.
Yeah, if you're interested out there, you know, when it comes up next year, they have it here. Make sure that you sign up for it and have some fun with the rest of the crew.
Yep, and we'll be sure to let you guys know when that does come around. And that about does it for Oxford News this week, though. If you would like to learn more about these stories and others, you can pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader, or better yet, you can catch us on our website at occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course, your regular cable channel, Spectrum 191 and AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up on OCTV's very own Cody Wright with its school sports news and schooling around with none other than Alexis Ware. And you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Alexis Ware. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we're bringing your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, we can now monitor what happens inside diving animals in unprecedented detail thanks to a non-invasive way of recording blood flow and oxygen levels in their brain. The first study with this device shows seals consciously reduce blood flow to their blubber before diving. Almost all animals, including us, have the so-called dive reflex. It triggers changes in the body such as reduced blood flow to the skin and a slower heart rate that reduce oxygen consumption. This reflex was thought to be an automatic response. In humans, for instance, it's triggered by breath holding and cold water on the face. But recent studies suggest that at least some diving animals have a degree of control. For instance, harbor porpoises slow their hearts more if they are planning to stay under longer. We know little about other changes in the bodies of diving animals because they're very hard to study. So, Chris McKnight at the University of St. Andrews in the UK and colleagues developed a wearable non-invasive device that uses near-infrared spectroscopy to monitor blood volume and oxygenation. It's effectively like a Fitbit, says McKnight. It does not penetrate the skin. When the team attached this device to harbor seals, they found that the peripheral blood vessels of seals started to contract well before they dive, typically around 15 seconds before, and sometimes as much as 45 seconds. That means it must be under conscious control, says McKnight. There's no other stimulus. The seals also restored normal blood flow to the blubber several seconds before surfacing, again showing conscious control. The study also revealed that when seals are feeding, they don't bother to stay at the surface long enough to restore normal blood oxygen levels. The team now plans to study other animals, including humans. The world's top 3 divers have set some astounding records in recent years. The record for breath holding without moving is over 11 minutes, and for swimming down and returning to the surface, it's 130 meters. Wow. In our next story, living at the border between wakefulness and a dream world may do wonders for your creativity. People with narcolepsy are excessively sleepy during the day and can often drift off. Isabelle Arnoff, who treats narcolepsy at Pitié-Salpêtrière, a hospital in Paris, noticed that her patients, seemed remarkably creative. Many of them were artists and poets, for example. Arnoff and her colleagues asked 185 people with narcolepsy to complete a questionnaire designed to test for creativity. They compared the results with those of 126 people who didn't have the condition. 30 volunteers from each group also undertook a creativity test, which involved trying to find new solutions to problems as well as creative writing and drawing. People with narcolepsy did better on every measured aspect of creativity. For instance, when participants were asked to come up with a story that ended with the words, "and the last apple fell from the tree," most composed a version that included Adam and Eve, Isaac Newton, or the end of summer. But the most creative responses came from people with narcolepsy, including a story about trees joining a strike initiated by animals who had decided not to feed humans anymore, and another about a bulimic worm called Jean-Jacques. Well, we found something positive in the disorder, says Arnoff. Arnoff thinks this could be because people with narcolepsy experience an unusual sleep cycle. A typical cycle begins with a period of non-REM sleep, but people with narcolepsy usually fall straight into REM sleep, the period when we tend to experience vivid dreams. As a result, they seem to have a better access to pool of ideas, says Arnoff. Peggy Lewis at Cardiff University in the UK agrees. Our brains replay memories when we sleep, she explains. During sleep, slow-wave non-REM sleep, this seems to allow us to replay and group together similar experiences within a category. We may replay memories of all the birthday parties we have been to, for example. But in REM sleep, Lewis says, the replayed memories seem less connected. This is backed up anecdotally. Geneticist George Church, who plans to reverse aging and resurrect woolly mammoths, among other things, has ascribed his own creativity to narcolepsy. People who don't have narcolepsy might be able to boost their creativity by maximizing the time spent in REM sleep, says Arnoff. The period between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. is the richest in REM sleep, she says. You could wake up at 3 a.m., look at a problem, and then sleep on it. And don't wake up too early. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hi, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Together, David and I host OCTV's weekly show, Minutes by Minutes.
The show presents our sometimes humorous interpretation of what your elected politicians are doing to enact regulations and ordinances that ultimately affect us all, keeping your news closer to home and reporting political shenanigans from Oxford and Addison Township, including the villages of Leonard and Oxford.
Catch Minutes by Minutes on Charter Channel 191 or AT&T Channel 99. Tune in Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. and 11:30 p.m. and Saturday, 11:30 a.m.
If you don't have Charter or AT&T, you can watch us on our local website, OCCTV.org, or OCTV Oxford, Michigan on YouTube. See you there.
Hello everyone and welcome back to School News. I hope you all are enjoying your summer, but in case you aren't, here are a list of events that are coming up to entertain you. Oxford Public Library has events every day in the teen department, starting with their Maker Mondays from noon until 4 p.m. This past Monday was Constellation Cookie Day. June 24th is Stardust Magnets. They're bringing in the month of July with Moon Rocks. The Monday after that, students get to make their very own cosmic cake pops. July 15th is Galaxy Globes, and the last Maker Monday is in theme with summer reading with Out of This World books. Another day to put on your calendars for the summer is every Thursday at Oxford Public Library for Throwback Thursday movies. This past Thursday was the movie Spaceballs. This week, the movie will be Flight of the Navigator. Next Thursday, July 11th, is Galaxy Quest. The week after is Last Starfighter, and towards the end of July on the 25th, they will be showing the movie Tron. These movies begin at 2 p.m. every Thursday, so don't be late. All of this information can be found online at miopl.org. That's Oxford, Michigan's public library site. If you are looking online to see what else the library offers, be sure to check for the right address because there is an Oxford, Wisconsin public library. Now we're going to hear from library staff in the teen department about the same events and more. Rachel, can you tell us all of the different events that you have going on this summer for the teen department?
We have all kinds of stuff this summer. We have 2 lock-ins, one that's just crafts and games and one that's Nerf guns. We have Maker Mondays where we do a bunch of different crafts. We're doing galaxy cookies, star magnets, all kinds of fun stuff. And then every Thursday we have a movie matinee. We have Spaceballs, Tron, a bunch of throwback movies. We're also offering a piggy bank craft. We have a bunch of clubs. We do D&D. We have a Magic the Gathering night where people can just bring their cards and play. We have all kinds of stuff going on, and all of that can be found on our website.
And you mentioned lock-in, so are the students locked in? Is it like a slumber party overnight, or is it just within the day?
It's from 6 to 9 o'clock on a Friday, so it's after close. We are in here. It's just the teens and staff, and we do pizza and games and all kinds of fun stuff.
That was Rachel Quinn, Teen Department Head, going over all of the fun things that Oxford Public Library has going on throughout the summer. If you would like to see what else she had to say about the summer events and what's coming up next, stay tuned to the Schooling Around segment. Also, remember that if you or someone you know received free or reduced lunch during the school year, there is a free summer food program going on throughout August 9th. For those students, the program offers both breakfast and lunch and is being ran out of Oxford Middle School on 1420 Lakeville Road. Breakfast is served from 9 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. and lunch begins at 12:15 until 12:30 noon. For questions, please call Karen Bessett at 248-969-5120 for more information. But that about does it for School News. Next up is Cody Wright with School Sports.
We here at OCTV cover the local events and government meetings of Oxford, Addison, and Leonard. We also produce and edit programs for you viewers out there. With the leadership of our station manager, Bill Service, we have been a very successful team, winning awards from the state of Michigan for Best Electronic Media, giving attention to our local veterans. We also won awards for excellence in directing and educational programs. With the help of our great new equipment and our technical directors, we write, produce, and broadcast our local news for you. Without our production manager, Terry Stiles, our channel and station wouldn't be the well-oiled machine it is today. She coordinates the editing assignments and shoot schedule with our editors and camera people. OCTV and its communities make a great team.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Ford Motor Company's upcoming Mustang Shelby GT500, the company's most powerful street-legal vehicle ever built, will boast 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque when it hits showrooms this fall. That's enough to blow past the 2019 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1's 650 horsepower, although the Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Redeye retains the power crown with 797 horsepower. The GT500 will come with a single powertrain, a hand-built supercharged 5.2-liter V8 engine with a 7-speed automatic gearbox. Ford said it will achieve a 0 to 60 mile per hour time in 3-second range. Melvin Betancourt, the vehicle's design manager, said everything from the A-pillar forward is new, including Ford's biggest ever hood scoop. The air intake on the grille is double that of the GT350 to help keep the engine cool. Ford last offered the Snake Badge GT500 for the 2014 model year. It has not yet released pricing for the upcoming model. And on the recall front, Ford Motor Company on June 12th said it's recalling about 1.2 million Explorers in North America to fix a problem with the rear suspension that dates to the vehicle's redesign from a traditional SUV into a unibody crossover in 2010. The automaker also issued a recall for about 123,000 previous generation F-150s because transmission calibration software used during a February recall failed to resolve the problem. Ford, in a regulatory filing, said it expects the Explorer recall to cost about $180 million. It did not give estimated costs for the F-150 recall or two other recalls covering a total of 16,300 vehicles announced June 12th. One of the smaller recalls is to fix substandard welding in Econoline vans that are often used for school buses and ambulances. The 2011 to 2017 Explorers being recalled were built at the Chicago assembly plant from May 2010 through January 2017. Ford said the vehicles could experience a fracture in the rear suspension toe link that could reduce steering control and increase the risk of a crash. Ford said one customer reported hitting a curb due to a broken toe link, but is not aware of any injuries related to the defect. In addition to the 1.2 million Explorers in the U.S., the recall covers about 28,000 in Canada and Mexico. Ford built about 1.6 million Explorers during the covered timeframe, according to Automotive News Data Center. A separate recall issued June 12 covers a similar problem with rear suspension toe links on 12,000 vehicles in Canada. Vehicles affected by that recall are the 2009 to 15 Lincoln MKS, 2009 to 17 Ford Flex, and 2010 to 17 Ford Taurus and Lincoln MKT. Ford said it's aware of one report of a crash with minor injuries. The repair for both suspension toe link recalls involved replacing the left and right toe links with a forged toe link and aligning the rear suspension. The F-150 recall is for certain 2013 models with 5.0-liter and 6.2-liter gasoline engines that had the powertrain control module software reprogrammed in a previous recall fix. Ford said vehicles without the complete recall fix calibration remain at risk for unintended transmission downshift due to intermittent outspeed sensor failure. The transmission could downshift to first gear without warning, potentially causing the driver to lose control and crash, Ford said. Any F-150s that didn't have the previous recall fix are not affected and will receive updated software under the February recall program, Ford said. The recall covers about 108,000 F-150s in the U.S. and 15,200 in Canada. The Econoline recall covers 4,300 vans with 5.4-liter engines from the 2009 to 2016 model years. Ford said a capacitive discharge weld within a coast clutch component in the transmission could fail and possibly immobilize the vehicle. Dealers are being instructed to replace the coast clutch cylinder and single engaging coast one-way clutch with a dual engaging one-way clutch. Wow. And still on the recall front at FCA, Fiat Chrysler Automobile said it's recalling about 343,000 Ram 1500 pickups from the 2019 to 2020 model years over a software error that could disable the vehicle's airbags and seatbelt pretensioners. FCA said in a statement June 10th that an investigation revealed occupant restraint closed modules may not properly reset when engines are turned off. The error would make the two safety features unavailable in a collision, the statement said. The recall affects about 296,000 Ram 1500s in the U.S. and about 39,000 in Canada. Another almost 8,000 pickups in Mexico and other countries are also being recalled. About 1/3 of the recalled 2019 pickups are still held by dealers. Only 26 of the 2020 pickups are affected, and they are in pre-production, FCA said. The automaker said the potential for such an event is highly remote, and the company is unaware of any related injuries or accidents. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again for this week's Sports Report. We don't have a whole lot this week, but we do have a lot to look forward to. We're scheduled to cover the first senior softball game this week at Seymour Lake Park, but we got rained out, so our next game is next Wednesday, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that. Back to our high school sports season, which luckily for us is still going on. The boys varsity baseball team captured its first district title in the last 11 years, taking on Lake Orion. The boys absolutely pummeled the Dragons, even though the Dragons beat Oxford all 3 times we faced them this season with a combined score of 23-1. This time was a much different story with a final score and district victory 9-1. It's been a fun season, I'll say that, but we have some new action sweeping in with the summer. Here at Seymour Lake Park, we cover all the Parks and Rec games that go on here in the next few months. This last week, we covered 12 and under softball and Little League softball, which is now posted on our YouTube page. And lastly, the Tough Mudders is coming through, and we will be covering that as well. We'll be doing interviews of participants, tons of footage of the obstacles, and myself along with Alexis Ware from Schooling Around, we are going to be running in it. It's a 5K event with GoPros to see what this is all about. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that next week. Like I said, we don't have a whole lot to go over this week. Usually I have some Little League interviews to but I'm sure we'll have that for next week. So that is the full of it. If you want to take a look back at the high school season, go to oxfordathletics.org. All of the official records, stats, and past articles are all going to be found there. Once again, that is oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out. That is occtv.org. All of our coverage of these events, along with many other programs we put together, can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through Facebook or through the website. Once again, that is occtv.org. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.